All right. Thank you for your patience, everybody. We're going to get rolling right now. If you're here for the IBM Innovation Incubator Project webinar, you've come to the right place. You can put your questions in the chat, and we'll get to that. We'll open everything up for a conversation at the end. We're going to be talking about IBM Cloud and how that fits into to the program. And I'll talk about the cloud first. A little bit about myself, a longtime IBMer, open source advocate, and you'll see how that fits into this whole story here. So the IBM Cloud differentiates itself from the other big guys is we're more focused on the cognitive and AI side of things, and also blockchain. So what we see typically now is that most, even small businesses, startups have, but they're using multiple clouds. A lot of them are on AWS because that's the incumbent. Being part of this program as a startup doesn't put a ring on your finger if you're on AWS, and that works fine for you. That's great. Stay there. Take whatever you can get from them, and integrate Watson into your application via APIs and that kind of thing. So we'll talk about that and how that works. So at IBM, what we're trying to do is move our clients forward and using the cloud as an innovation platform, getting away from some of the more traditional, the cloud is just somebody else's computer idea, and really using it for what it's good for, the elasticity and being as efficient as possible and being able to spread your offering around the world. So IBM has over 60 data centers around the world right now, and there's massive pipes between them. And one thing that also sets us apart is we don't charge people for moving stuff around on our actual cloud infrastructure. So where we go in terms of maturity for development is you'll see the old school bare metal and VMware and virtual servers. That's really the somebody else's computer model. Where we're trying to focus our efforts on are sort of from the middle going right. And I find most startups are already in this space, so that's great, and it makes it easier for everyone to have a more consistent conversation about architecture and moving forward. So IBM is deeply invested in open source. So we're part of the whole Linux Foundation, Linux kernel. Our entire cloud runs on Linux, so does everybody else's. But we're deeply involved in the Linux Foundation. We have a whole Kubernetes service that supports Docker containers. Our platform as a service component is running on Cloud Foundry. That's another open source project. And the serverless microservices part is all running on OpenWhisk. That's an Apache project that IBM has been a major contributor to. So one thing that kind of sets us apart from, I would say, some of the more incumbent and traditional cloud providers like, say, Microsoft or AWS, is a lot of their platform as a service and their serverless side of things is proprietary, whereas Apache OpenWhisk is open source. You could install it in your own data center if you wanted to, or on your own computer. So, I mean, these things require different ways of thinking about architecture and how you do things. But a couple of years ago, doing things in serverless was kind of cutting edge. Not so much anymore. And you see hybrids of all these three on the right, with Kubernetes working with services that are available on the platform, and some parts that are done in microservices. So here's kind of the menu of what's available on our cloud. You'll see that there's a lot of things that have the word Watson in front of them. So that's where we've been focusing our attention. And there's a bunch of different AIs that are available as services. They're easy to plug into your existing applications. The one thing a lot of people mention is, well, a lot of this Watson stuff is proprietary and only on IBM Cloud. Well, that's changing. You're going to see a lot of these services show up on other clouds. In particular, our IBM blockchain, which is completely open sourced and based on the Linux Foundation's Hyperledger project. So there's IBM blockchain services available on other clouds like AWS as well, and you'll see it available on every cloud as time goes by. So that's kind of the way things are working in the multi-cloud world. So I mean, even at IBM in our services division, we have we have groups within our services division that strictly take care of Azure, strictly take care of AWS customers and the integration points. And kind of surprised we don't have a Google one yet, but I'm pretty sure we'll see that soon. So many of you have probably seen these signs in airports and shopping malls. So as a part of IBM's ongoing commitment to open source, and really, I think so that Microsoft wouldn't buy them, we have acquired Red Hat, which I think is great for our company. I've been a big fan of Red Hat for a long, long time. So that what you're going to see, and what I've seen so far in terms of the acquisition, is that there's been a lot of focus on integration and working with some of the more popular offerings that Red Hat has. In particular, their PaaS offering, OpenShift, is now available on IBM Cloud. So you'll see a lot of back and forth and a lot of support for the Red Hat offerings. I mean, most of our, probably the vast majority of our workloads that are running in containers and virtual machines we're already running on Red Hat properties. So that's been working out really well. And what I've been seeing internally in the company is a real effort to work together, but let Red Hat exist in their own cultural open source way. And it seems to be working out so far pretty good. So I think it's a great addition for the company, and I think it's going to be great for all of our customers on both sides. So as I alluded to earlier, I'm a member of the Linux Foundation. So IBM's made a lot of commitments to the Linux Foundation. It is a big part in a lot of their major projects. So, in the past, IBM was typically a company that acquired other little companies and their IP and their intellectual property, and then just kind of integrated it into the bigger mass of things in a very proprietary closed source way. Well, the company doesn't really work that way anymore. It's very focused on supporting open source projects and integrating that functionality into our offerings so that it's a benefit for our clients. And that's not just us. I mean, that's the way everything is going these days. The big project that we essentially initiated was Hyperledger. So that's the B2B, business-to-business blockchain implementation. That's been getting huge traction. The IBM blockchain as a service on our platform as a service. It's very simple to implement. I mean, you could do all this stuff if you wanted to on your own machine, but essentially it's a push button implementation that gives you all the nodes, all the controllers, all the full IDE, management tools, everything, push of a button. So we've been working very closely with the Hyperledger Foundation in terms of contributing like the Fabric framework, which is what our implementation is based on, and the smart contract engines like Compose. So those are all integrated into our offering. We're also big contributors to these projects. So Docker, Kubernetes, and OpenWhisk, like I was saying earlier. And this is essentially what we run our cloud with. This is where we're really encouraging our customers to go. And there's a lot of good reasons to go in this direction. It gives, in particular, startups a lot of flexibility in terms of what they can offer their customers. And it also gives them portability to move between different cloud providers. In terms of Watson, this is like a subset of the icons that are of the AIs that are available directly on IBM Cloud. I think what you'll see is these will move out to other clouds as well. So the popular ones are Assistant, which is the chatbot. There's translation, text-to-speech, speech-to-text, visual recognition, sentiment analysis, personality insights, natural language understanding. and they all work with a very similar paradigm and API. So basically, once you've learned how to use one, it's easy to integrate the other ones. And there's light plans available for all of these, and we'll talk about how you can get your your free IBM cloud account at some point during the presentation here. So it's very easy to start prototyping and experimenting with these things to see what they're capable of. Oh, look at that. It's right here. So it's very easy to sign up for a light account. It never expires as long as you touch it every so often. Like if you're in there once every 6 weeks or so, it'll just stay alive. So you can get your free account at cloud.ibm.com, and you can peruse the menu and you can see what's available in there. I'd say that probably 90% of all the services that are available on our cloud have some kind of free tier. So it's very easy to experiment and prototype without spending any money at all. I think that's pretty similar with all clouds right now. We also offer accredited acclaim badges for courses, and DeveloperWorks here is like a portal for developers. But this is just a quick course that gives you an overview, and you get an acclaim badge at the end of it, and you can stick that up on your LinkedIn site, and people know that you're familiar with IBM Cloud. And I'll get to some more of these as well. Yeah, so here, like for instance, there's a whole series of them on strictly blockchain. Now, these things are all branded IBM blockchain platform, but really what it is Hyperledger. These are transferable skills to any Hyperledger implementation. I think these first couple of badges are still completely free, like Essentials and Developer Foundation. I think the consulting one now, it's got a fee associated with it, but most of these badges are free, and those ones are available on a website called cognitiveclasses.ai. Now, there's links in everything in here, so I'm going to give you guys a link to this actual presentation, and every slide has links in it, so that you can follow the trail and find any of this stuff. All right, so IBM has a global program called Startup with IBM. What that does is that gives funding to any startup that is less than 5 years old, has less than 500 employees. I know that's a crazy number. I don't know where they came up with that number, and has not made $1 million in revenue from the time that they hit the submit button on the application request. Now, it's a very simple application. It's one pager. If you're smart, it'll take you 5 minutes to fill out. If you're slow like me, it'll take you 10 minutes to fill out. But it's very simple. The links are included here, and also I'll bring up the links again. So what that gives you is $1,000 in credit per month for cloud. And once you've demonstrated that you've got a client that's touching IBM Cloud, or partner, then you can get that uplifted to $10,000 a month. And that program lasts for 12 months. So the thing with this program is it's global, and it's pretty hands-off. It's like, here's your credits, have fun. There's a portal that you get as a client of Startup with IBM that will allow you to request the uplift to 10K and extensions and any kind of support going back and forth as well. So that's the global program. So what that does is it ties into the IBM Innovation Incubator project, which I will call I3 just for ease going forward here. So the added benefit to startups in Ontario of being in the Startup with IBM program and I3 is that you have direct access to IBMers. We have a team here across Canada, but mainly focused on Ontario. That is all we do is deal with startups all day long. That's my gig, and we work. So I'm on the technical side. So we have technical resources like myself, where we will help you with architecture or any kind of migrations or development issues. I mean, the scope of my involvement has been from like almost nothing to I've been on sprints with startups and acted as a sprint reviewer or built architectures with startups. So it's whatever you need in terms of technical support. Also on my team, there's business development focused folks who will work on getting you opportunities, mainly through the IBM sales channels, so making introductions to sales teams and introducing you to our clients. So that's also where the big benefit is. So the program in total has 4 streams. Really, there's only 2 streams that are active right now, and the rest are waiting for renewals. So Stream 1 is the customer demo program that will give you up to $50,000 for essentially for a AI or blockchain enhancement to your current offering. And there's a whole process for that. It's not as scary as it sounds in terms of the paperwork. And then Stream 4 is really the cloud credits and technical help side. So that's sort of where the startup with IBM part enters. There's other streams here as well, and there's been some like goodies thrown in as well. Yeah, one thing I didn't note is that when you become part of the I3, it will allow you to like access like IBM resources globally. So if you wanted to attend a trade show somewhere in the world and IBM has an incubator there, we'll hook you up in that incubator. I think we have like 2 of them, and we're associated with like literally hundreds around the world, and we have ones that we own and run outright, like 185 Spadina, for instance. We have a couple in Tel Aviv as well, but we literally have hundreds. So where all this ends and where we want you to end up is as a IBM business partner, and that will give you added benefits of getting, discounts on IBM products, the ability to resell them, the ability to leverage IBM in other ways in terms of, taking up trade show real estate with IBM at trade shows, because IBM always has a policy of dedicating so much space to business partners. So there's all kinds of opportunities around there. The clients in the program that have been super successful have been really the ones who've moved to this business partner relationship and manipulated it to their own ends, to the point where we have like I can think of one example of a CEO of a startup who is actually getting paid consulting gigs from IBM now to like all over the world, like Portugal and places like that, to work with IBM sales teams that are actively reselling his product. So that's how far you can take it if you want to get it there. Here's an example of a company that's really an I3 client that's really effectively exploiting the relationship, and they've got their offering up on the IBM Cloud Marketplace. So that's part of your business partner relationship, and you can be a business partner and part of the I3 program simultaneously. There's nothing saying you can't. So this is a company out of Ottawa that has a public engagement platform that's all digital, and they've had some very successful implementations, and so they've got their offering on the IBM Cloud Marketplace now. So the great thing about this is not only does it give you like a bit of a legitimacy amongst IBM customers, is that it's a good calling card with the IBM sales teams. It gives you a bit of legitimacy to let them know you've gone through the process, and when you're working with them and trying to work a sale with them, they can refer to this with their clients. So that's where the good things happen. All right, so there's a push to get a bunch of clients into the program by the end of September. So The process is very, very simple. I will tell you, to do all of this will take less than half an hour. That's if you're taking your time. It'll take, typically 20 minutes. So, oh, we got all ones here. This is what happens when you translate slides between different platforms. So that should say 1, 2, 3, not 1, 1, 1. So the first thing is to get your IBM ID. I put a little quick link in there. And the second one is to sign up with i3. There's another quick link there. So the get an IBM ID, that'll take you 2 minutes. The registration with OCE, that takes 5 minutes at the most. And then there's another form to fill out with the startup with IBM. Like I said, that's another 5 minutes. So, really, if you're fast, you can probably get this all done in 15 minutes. So what we're looking for is for clients to get into the program by the end of September. You can reach out to, if you want help doing this, please reach out to me directly, and we'll hook up, and we'll go through the process together, and I'll get you in. All right, so this is just a little reminder that we're going to open up the Q&A now. Hi, how's it going?
Doing well. How are you?
Good. All right, so we're going to open up the line so you can ask your questions live, but you can also feel free to keep plugging them into the chat, and feel free to ask me anything. And here's a link where you can grab the presentation. Made another quick link there for you. It's just i3-presentation that goes right to this presentation in the cloud. And like I said, there's a lot of value added in the speaker notes. There's a link on every single slide to the thing that's in the slide, so to help you out there. So feel free just to grab it. It's in Google Slides, so it's all web-based. You can also comment too. If there's like, Lee, you forgot to say something about this, or Lee, this doesn't make sense, please put a comment in there, and I'll answer it directly in there. Yeah. So the less than 5 years old qualification is 5 years from the time that you got your Canada Revenue Agency business number. So that's something that you have to put on the form. So I'll just be blunt and honest with you guys. What we see is a lot of companies that are older than 5 years old, and what they do is typically when they're integrating AI or blockchain into their offering is that, or those kind of things, or they're moving to multiple clouds, is that they're dealing with a new offering. So what I recommend to those companies, and my OCE colleagues in the room can slap my wrist if I'm saying something wrong, is what I usually recommend is that you spin out a child company, and then get yourself a new business number with CRA, and get a new domain for whatever that child company is going to be called. So that's a real pattern that I see all the time. And what you're going to find with a lot of these grants and a lot of these programs, just generally from every level, from from the province, from municipal to the Fed, that this 5-year mark seems to be pretty common. It's like almost everything is stamped with this 5-year mark. Yeah, so there's another one here that says, I guess I cannot join i3 as my company is not a startup, but I probably can still try out cloud.ibm.com. Yeah, so I mean, anyone's welcome to try out cloud.ibm.com, but I mean, if your company's not a startup, if it's a medium-sized business or an older business that's been around longer, you can use that same method where you can spend the 65 or whatever. It probably ends up being closer to like $80 to spin out a child company and get yourself a new domain name. So that applies to any company of any age. So I've seen that a lot. And what we'll often see is one company will have sort of their old, they'll have their legacy offering, and they've got their customers that are there and happy, and they'll keep that running. And then they'll create a more modernized offering, and then they'll spin that out under a different name, but it's all the same company. Okay, so yeah, so I'll pass this one over to my buddy Vahid here. So that there's a comment that the process for signing up for the I3 registration is more than 5 minutes. I guess I'm being optimistic if I say 5 minutes. If you've got all that information at hand.
I think there's a bit of a distinction to make. So these documents and this reference made here is to a customer demonstration program,
okay,
which is a funding program. To sign up for IBM Technology and IBM Cloud Services is a 5-minute survey and a meeting with Lee or his colleagues. That's to get access to IBM, services through Stream 4 of our program. CDP is completely different. It's a $50,000, funding, available to the companies who want to use IBM cloud technologies or other technologies to demonstrate their solution to a strategic partner or a strategic customer. At the moment, that stream is not taking any applications anymore because we have more applications that we can award. So the demand is beyond capacity. So that's a distinction.
Yeah. So
So
that's a different form altogether. That's a different program. So to get into the I3 program itself and to get access to the cloud credits, you only have to do these 3 steps that are on the screen right now. And those, if you're taking your time, will take you half an hour, right? If you're smart and fast, it'll take you 15 minutes. Yeah, CDP is like a customer demo program, something completely different. That's a longer application cycle with a lot of business questions in it, and there's a technical element to it as well. Yeah, there's a lot more to that. But like Vahid was saying, it's closed right now, so it's kind of a moot point.
You're open for blockchain, though.
Oh, okay, still open for blockchain, Vahid said. Yeah, if you're so it's Henry and Martin have asked a question. If you're a startup focused on cloud and IoT, are you eligible to apply for CDP? Well, just like we said, it's only open right now for blockchain projects. But when it gets renewed and gets rolling again, yeah, it'll be open to those kind of things because where everything's going in IoT right now is with integrating AI with IoT. So you would spin your application to be around that side of it. It's like, and if you're not doing that now, everybody else is doing it, so you gotta be doing it. So when you're registering for your spin-out company, the question here is, can the domain name be a child of the original one? I would suggest that you don't do that because when they vet the forms, they look for the actual company name to be in the URL. And if you had applied in if anyone had applied previously in the life of the company under the old domain name, it'll get flagged and it won't go through. So it's worth just spend the $20 to get a unique domain. Yeah, so there's a question about the CDP and could it apply to solutions that are not strictly cloud, but more focused on mobile. I think I got that right. These days, try developing a mobile app that doesn't have some kind of cloud component. If you can't connect to the internet, you can almost not much you can use on your phone. So I would say in most practical instances, it's not going to stop anything. If it's even if it's a small component. If there's some kind of AI or blockchain element and it's strictly a mobile app, yeah, that would be considered for sure. Okay, so this is a good question from Arnaud. Okay, so when I'm using the IBM Cloud, what are the intellectual property terms? So this is an excellent question, and I always forget to put it in the presentation. What kind of differentiates IBM Cloud from the other cloud providers is the T's and C's of when you sign up to IBM Cloud. We do not take your data. We do not look at your data. If you develop, and for the I3 program specifically, any intellectual property that you develop is your own. We do not have anything to do with it. It's strictly yours. Other companies are like particular, I'm thinking about Microsoft, a little different. So it's worth investigating, but I will tell you that generally the way IBM works on that side of things is, well, with IP specifically, it's yours and the data is yours alone. So yeah, you can Google that stuff. I mean, there's some weird things in the minutia of all these T's and C's from the CSPs, particularly when it comes to working with partners. Like I'm thinking of partners like Apple and VMware, where they have their own sort of subset of rules, but they're mostly around how you develop and not intellectual property or data. So like when you get into the minutia, you got to be concerned about that, because companies, I'll just tell you right now, companies like Apple and VMware get weird about having their own stipulations within other cloud providers' T's and C's. So, but you can look it up. Just Google IBM Cloud terms and conditions, and you'll see it all in there. And it's very specific. I will tell you, one of the VPs of cloud put out a statement probably about 4 years ago now, saying if the NSA or any of these big security government organizations knock on the door, we are not handing stuff over. They need to bring their team of lawyers. This is completely different than other CSPs. That's why I mention it. Microsoft will just say, here you go, take it. So just so you know, that's how it works. But in terms of intellectual property and data, it's all yours. Okay, we have a question here from Kevin Mercer. IBM, so yeah, okay, this is good. Yeah, so so IBM is always interested in extending out its business partner network, and we are very invested in weather. We bought the weather company about 5 years ago now. And all of the weather company data is available on IBM Cloud as a service. So as part of the i3 program and start with IBM, you'd be able to access all that data. So Kevin, I hope that answers your question. But in terms of startups using that data in unique, interesting, and disruptive ways, yes, we always want to talk to those kind of startups and build out partnerships and see what opportunities are available for everybody. Okay, so there's a question here from Paul asking to clarify about what happens after your year of credits is over. That's a good question. I get that one too, and I should put that in. So what happens is after your credits expire, there are plans that are really focused on SMEs and making it the transition from being on credits to being a paying customer as painless as possible. This is relatively new because we got a lot of feedback from the SME community that it wasn't a smooth transition. So now probably the best thing to do is what we do, and Vahid has been very instrumental in this, and what has worked out great, is we essentially have an exit interview with the i3 clients about 3 months before their credits expire, and we talk about these options and what options are available. So you're not left to hang out and dry. We make sure that it's a smooth transition, and that there's lots of payment options there for you if you decide to stick with IBM Cloud, that it's not going to be painful. Most of them work around subscription models. So I would say it's kind of like the way I would word it is it's like a pay-as-you-go cell plan, right? So you get so much service with a minimum monthly fee. That seems to be the one that has attracted startups that are transitioning off the credits the most. That's a plan that was basically built for them because of feedback from the startup community. Anything else? All right, we are done. So thank you everybody for hanging in there. So I'd really like to reiterate that we're looking for clients, so sign up before September 30th, please. You'll see on your screen, there's the process, the one-on-one process. So it's just, you know, top to bottom. And what I'll do here is I'll just briefly on my screen put how you can get in touch with me. So if you want to go through the process, or you have more questions about the program, or you know, you're just interested in what IBM can offer for your company, reach out to me on LinkedIn. So that link will get you to my LinkedIn. It's just Lee Bowie in Ottawa. And I have an open calendar through Calendly. So if you want to actually book time with me, and we can do it in person, in Hangouts, Skype, I don't care, whatever your thing is that you like to use, we can do it on that, and we can share screens, links, whatever. So I'm based in Ottawa, but I'm down in Toronto, usually 2 or 3 days a month. So we can get together face to face or via any digital means you want. If you want to follow the craziness, you can just follow my Twitter feed there. And that's basically it. So people often ask me why I don't put my email up here. Is because I hate email. I think it's a tool from a distant, long gone past that should be destroyed. I get angry even thinking about it. So the best way to do it, to get in touch with me, is with LinkedIn, because then I can see the whole trail of our conversation and see, you know, what I owe you and where we are and stuff like that. So my preference is LinkedIn. If you must send me an email, it's lee.bowie@ca.ibm.com. And just as a reminder, you can get this entire presentation through that quick link there, ibm.biz/i3-presentation. All right, thank you very much.